When the candle flickers, it does not mean it is weak. It means it is using its last light to shine brightest. My dear friends, there is a sacred stillness that surrounds the end of a life, and yet most people do not know how to listen. In our rush, in our busyness, we fail to hear the silent whispers that the body gives, the signs that a soul is nearing the final chapter of its earthly journey. But for those who are present, truly present, these signs are not hidden. They are gentle, quiet warnings, not to scare us, but to prepare us, to invite us into deeper presence, deeper love, and deeper understanding of the life that still remains. Most people spend their lives looking without truly seeing. In the final stage of life, the signals that an elderly person is nearing the end are not loud or dramatic. They are subtle, quiet, and often missed by those who are distracted or emotionally unprepared. Presence, the ability to be fully in the moment without judgment or fear, is what allows us to notice what the eyes alone cannot detect. It is in the stillness that these signs are revealed. The soft way a person turns inward, the long pauses between words, or the distant look in their eyes are not meaningless. They are messages. They are invitations for us to slow down and join them in that space between this life and what lies beyond. To recognize these signs, one must not be in a rush. You must learn to sit without expectation, to watch with an open heart, to listen not just to words, but to the energy in the room. When we are present, we stop trying to fix or change what we don't understand. We begin to accept that there is a sacred process unfolding, one that cannot be controlled, only witnessed, and in that witnessing, we offer one of the greatest gifts, the comfort of being seen and honored in the final days of life. Presence is a form of love. It is a silent support that says, I am here. You are not alone. When we are present, the person nearing the end feels that they are safe. They may not have the strength to speak, but your stillness becomes the conversation. This kind of presence is not taught in books. It is cultivated through patience, humility, and a deep respect for the natural cycle of life and death. The body, in its deep wisdom, begins to slow down long before the final moment arrives. One of the most telling signs is a change in breathing patterns. Breath is the most constant companion we have throughout life, steady, rhythmic, dependable, but as the end nears, this rhythm begins to shift. It may become irregular, shallow, or interrupted by long pauses. To someone unfamiliar, these changes may feel alarming, even frightening, but they are not signs of suffering. They are signs of transition. The breath begins to mirror the soul's journey inward. It no longer follows the demands of the waking world, but starts to respond to something more internal, more spiritual. Sometimes the breathing becomes labored, as if the body is gently resisting its own decline. At other times, it slows down to an almost imperceptible whisper, as though the person is already half in another realm. The quiet between the breaths becomes longer, as if the body is preparing for stillness. These moments ask us not to panic, but to soften, to sit close, to offer our calm presence. There is no need to force anything, no need to intervene unless true suffering is present. What the person needs most in these moments is a sense of peace around them. Breathing, as it fades, becomes a meditation on life itself, in and out, holding on and letting go. To watch the breath slow is to witness the soul preparing for its release. It is not something to fear. It is something to honor. It is the body returning to silence, the same way it came into this world, with a breath, and when the final breath comes, it carries with it the story of a lifetime. As life draws to a close, the body's natural desire for food and water begins to fade. This is not a sign of giving up, but rather a reflection of the body's changing needs. For much of life, nourishment is tied to strength, vitality, and survival. But near the end, the body starts to disconnect from these physical needs. The desire to eat diminishes, and even the smallest sip of water can become difficult to swallow. This is not a failure. It is a shift, a natural part of the dying process. Family members or caregivers often feel concerned, even anxious, when a loved one refuses food or drink. It feels unnatural because, throughout our lives, offering food is a gesture of care and love, yet forcing nutrition at this stage can bring discomfort rather than comfort. The body knows what it needs, and more importantly, what it no longer needs. Energy is conserved not for digestion or movement, but for the quiet work of letting go. The absence of hunger and thirst is the body's way of turning inward. Systems slow down, the senses begin to soften, life becomes less about doing and more about being. This is when we must shift our understanding. Instead of offering meals, we offer presence. Instead of asking them to eat, we offer words, touch, or silence. When we respect this process, we give the dying person a chance to pass with dignity. We are not there to keep them bound to the physical world, but to honor the sacred space they are entering. Refusing food and water is not a sign of despair. It is the body's final wisdom guiding the way toward peace. It is a gentle surrender, not to be feared, but accepted with grace. As the final stage of life approaches, a deep and persistent fatigue settles into the body. This is not the usual tiredness that comes after a long day or restless night. It is something more profound. The body begins to slow not just in motion, but in essence. Even the smallest tasks, like lifting a hand or opening the eyes, require immense effort. Conversations become brief or fall away entirely. The energy that once moved a person through daily life is now being conserved for something more essential, the inner process of release. This fatigue is the body's way of signaling that it no longer wishes to participate in the physical world as it once did. It is not laziness or weakness. It is a sacred form of withdrawal. The person may sleep for long hours or drift in and out of consciousness. They may seem detached or uninterested in things they once loved, but this isn't a loss of spirit. It is a redirection of attention inward, as if the soul is preparing to cross a threshold that cannot be crossed while still engaged with the noise of the world. For loved ones, this can be difficult to witness. There's a natural instinct to try and wake the person up, to re-engage them, to bring them back. But what is most needed in this moment is acceptance. The body is doing what it was designed to do. It is winding down gently, gracefully, in preparation for the end. Rather than resisting this fatigue, we can honor it. We can create quiet spaces, dim lights, speak in soft tones, and sit with calm presence. This type of fatigue is not defeat. It is the body's final act of surrender, and in it there is a kind of quiet strength that speaks louder than words. As a person nears the end of life, changes in awareness and perception become more frequent and often mysterious to those around them. Moments of sharp clarity may arise unexpectedly. Brief conversations, deep eye contact, or sudden recognition of loved ones after long silence. These are often followed by periods of unresponsiveness, silence, or even confusion. This back and forth between presence and withdrawal is part of the natural transition as the boundary between this life and whatever lies beyond begins to fade. At times, the person may speak to individuals who aren't physically present, names of long past relatives, visions of light or distant places, or even descriptions of peaceful surroundings. These are not necessarily signs of disorientation or cognitive decline. In many traditions, they are considered part of the soul's preparation to leave. The person is beginning to move between two realities, the physical world we see and the inner world that is opening up to them. What they are experiencing is real to them, and it is important not to dismiss or correct these moments, but to honor them with quiet respect. This altered state of consciousness invites those around to approach with patience and gentleness. There is no need for long conversations or logical explanations. Often, the most powerful support is simply being present, allowing the person to move through these shifts at their own pace. Speaking softly, holding a hand, or simply sitting near by becomes more meaningful than any attempt to bring them back to full awareness. These changes in consciousness are not a loss. They are part of a sacred unfolding. It is a reminder that something far deeper than the physical is taking place. In these moments, we are witnessing the beginning of a journey, one that does not require words, only trust and peace. As the end of life draws near, the body begins to express its internal transformation through the skin. This is often one of the clearest yet most misunderstood signs. The skin may become pale or take on a bluish or mottled appearance, especially on the hands, feet, and legs. This happens because Circulation slows down, the heart is no longer pumping with its usual strength, and the blood begins to retreat from the extremities. The warmth that once radiated from the body starts to fade, hands grow cool, feet lose their color, the touch becomes different, softer, more fragile. These physical changes are not causes for alarm. They are natural, gentle indicators that the body is in the final stages of releasing its hold on life. The skin is like a silent messenger, revealing the shifts happening deep within. For those observing, this can be a deeply emotional experience. It is a visual reminder that the person we love is preparing to go where we cannot yet follow. But understanding these changes can ease our fear and allow us to offer a calmer, more compassionate presence. What matters most during this time is not trying to reverse the changes, but to respond with love, wrapping a blanket around cold feet, holding a cool hand with warmth, and speaking softly to a person who may no longer respond. These are small acts of tenderness that offer great comfort. They let the dying person know that they are not alone, that they are seen and cared for even as the body begins to fade. The skin's transformation is part of the sacred closing of the physical body. It does not signal defeat. It speaks of a journey nearing completion, a final passage that deserves silence, respect, and the gentlest touch of love.